So, hey guys, it's Steve with Spirit Mechanics, and you caught me being blind and sunburnt in my own living room. And, we're going to get into the forecast. So, just wanted to say thank you guys for, sticking with us, everything that it is that you do. And hopefully, we'll be seeing you soon at some of the events coming up or some of the classes that we're going to hold. We got a lot of stuff on board for you guys. Um, I hope that your holiday weekend is going pretty great. So, if it is, awesome. If it's not, it'll get better. So, what's currently happening? A lot. So, we have Pluto rocking by itself. You know, Pluto is a planet. Once again, we've talked about it for weeks now, but for people that may be new, or if you haven't been catching the forecasts, Pluto is a planet of transformation, transition, regeneration, and rebirth. So it's literally the death card in tarot. The whole point is change, right? And the way that it does this is it makes you reflect on your life, who you have in it, what you've done as far as choices, what you've done as far as taking action, what that's led to. Is this something that can be changed? Is this something that needs to be accepted? Is this a new chapter on life, or is this just something that needs to be gotten through? Like a phase or a moment. Then we have Neptune. Neptune officially, we've been dealing with shadow, and once again, thank you guys for your patience. I did out myself about, mixing my dates because it fucking happens, But I mixed my dates. As far as Mercury and Neptune, it's been Neptune shadow that we've been dealing with up until this point. Neptune actually goes into retrograde on the holiday. Seriously. The 4th of July is when Neptune actually goes retrograde. So I think that's pretty interesting. But, so what does Neptune do? Neptune is a planet that helps you think abstractly. It helps you dream. It helps you envision things. It helps inspire certain thought processes and changes in mental space. So how does it do this? Well, it blurs the lines in between what is physical and spiritual, what is emotional and logical, how it is that we process emotions. And it's an interesting kind of planet because it usually helps you move through certain situations or instances or get some clarity through dreams. Abstract thought is Neptune's name, it's literally its claim to fame. The other thing that it does is through these particular movements in headspace, it allows you to understand what is a true boundary and what is just a comfort zone. For those that don't know, a boundary is something that you have to have. It's a need. It's something that has to be provided for you to understand where you are and who you are and how it is that you work. It's literally the period at an end of a sentence. This is how it is, right? These are things that I will not flex on, not bend on, not break on. These are deal breakers, game changers kind of things. Whereas a comfort zone is just something that makes you feel comfortable, as the name suggests. It's something that gives the illusion of safety. Kind of like a security blanket. So, yeah, it's a security blanket. There is this thin piece of cloth between you and the rest of the world, and that's kind of how a comfort zone works. It is a tiny, thin, paper thin partition between you and the rest of the world around you. Does everybody have them? Yeah. Are they safe? No. And what I mean by that is because you get so accustomed to specific comforts, when somebody or something doesn't provide what it is that that comfort zone would typically give you, people get triggered. People get upset, people get anxious, people don't vibe. There's a lot of situations that can happen there. Neptune helps you understand the comfort zones that are needed for this moment in time and the ones that you should probably break down, because you're not hiding from anything. So it's really great. It's one of my favorites. When it comes to those particular things, it's kind of problematic, just like any retrograde is in other ways. Now, on to the interesting shit. So, the next one that we have going on is we are in Saturn shadow as of this weekend, right? Saturn goes retrograde in the middle of July. And what does Saturn do? Saturn is the planet of order, literally. It's the planet of structure. It's what gives power to thought and what gives action to movement. It's literally a planet that goes, cool, that's what we're doing. But it's also called the tough love planet. The reason why is it helps you see the problematic things in your life, and either A, asks you what you've learned from the situation you put yourself in, or B, goes, these are the things you should be able to, need to, or should do to make this situation a lot better, easier, and safer for yourself. That sounds all well and good as long as you don't, drag your heels in the mud. When you kick and scream and throw a tantrum, that's when Saturn literally just goes, so we're going to do this, are we? I'm going to stand here and stare at you blankly until you get over yourself. And if you don't, I'm going to spank your ass. Because it will become blaringly obvious where the actual problem is with Jupiter. I keep wanting to say Jupiter with Saturn. But as Saturn works, it helps you restructure your life. It helps you understand that things need a flow. They need a, progression. They have to move in some way. And this is the more streamlined way. It's more efficient. It's healthier. It's better for your mental state. That's what Saturn does. But it's kind of like that dad that, is a lot harsher on the outside than what they really are, because they're trying to provide advice or safety or, basic needs, and they're trying to teach their kid how it is they can do that for themselves. Lastly, because we're still going on shit that's going on, so we're also going to be in Mercury shadow as of this weekend. Mercury also goes retrograde in the middle of July. So Mercury gets a lot of blame for pretty much everybody else's stuff. They are essentially the redheaded stepchild, or, even though they're not, the whole old adage of the middle child. Yeah, that would be Mercury. Mercury warps perceptions, that is true. It makes communication difficult, makes you stumble on words, or, makes thoughts not connect correctly, or if you do convey it correctly, it doesn't help other people receive it right. Because what we view as right and wrong, what we view the world as, what we view ourselves as, gets a little bit skewed during Mercury. But Mercury is a karmic-driven planet. It gives you exactly what it is that you ask for. Chaos can be used for a lot of awesome things if you use it correctly. And Mercury is one of those things that you can ask for it to be used correctly with. If you, before Mercury retrograde, project your chaos, and not at other people, giving that particular disclaimer, not at other people, but you project your chaos as spontaneity, as impulsiveness, as, whimsy, those kinds of things, and you ask Mercury specifically, help me understand, help me get through, help me fix, just help, those kinds of things. The energy provided can be used towards those things directly. If you ask for positive shit, you get positive shit. If you are, well, fuck me and fuck life and fuck you and fuck this, and shift into that negative zone, and Mercury notices, it's going to go, well, that's what you're asking for, so that's what I'm going to give you. Because Mercury warps perceptions, it shows you interesting things. When you ask for more positive shit in your life, it will warp your perception, true, but what it does is it takes the negative shit away so you can actually see the positive. It causes an imbalance. That's the reason why it's chaos. Same thing with, the negativity issues. It takes the positive shit not out of your life, but out of center stage, so you don't really pay as much attention to it. So all you focus on is the negativity, and it gets worse. If you want to put all of that in a big, pretty bow, Mercury literally is a planet that deals with the law of attraction. What you ask for is what you get. What you allow in your life is what you should accept. And shitty karma gets shitty results. So, what the fuck does this all mean? Because that's a lot of words. So what does all that mean? Well, since we have Pluto working on our inner self and, trying to make sure that we're accountable for the things that we've done, responsible for the things we've said and the actions taken, and helping us understand where other people are accountable for things in our life and making decisions that are best for us. And then we have Neptune helping us think outside the box, helping us dream big, helping us be more artistic, be more ethereal with the things that we do and say. It's a great and wonderful thing because those two rocking together allow you to express what it is that you need and what it is that you don't in a very healthy and direct way. It lets you step outside of yourself long enough to make things make sense for others before you come back. It's a beautiful fucking thing to see those two work together the way that they need to work. So, you have that going on. Then with Saturn, it's tripling down. Saturn being the order-driven planet and literally one of the stronger retrogrades, if not the strongest retrograde, as far as spiritual belief and presence as far as alchemy that you're going to get. It structures it. So you go from fuck, all this is in me and it's beginning to be all my fault, or I need to change this, it's all on me to fix it, it's all on my, it's right here, to, well, maybe it's not, with, so the first one being Pluto, the second one is Neptune. Well, maybe it's not. Maybe I should reach out. Maybe I should kind of ease out of this comfort zone because I feel, restricted right now. And honestly, is there a reason to be? And then Saturn literally goes, cool, let's do that. You were kind of fucking up, so this is how we can fix it. This is how we can make it better. This is how we can work with this. Or You should take responsibility for that shit, and then you won't have the problem that you do. Then, if it's done correctly, you have Mercury going, wow, the other three are kind of getting this person's head out of their ass. Maybe I should give them a little bit of a leg up by removing obstacles from their line of sight, by helping them evade a little bit of the emotional scars right now. Let's show them how life should be, how it could be. So a lot of what's going on right now are, if you listen really closely, and I do mean this, you can step outside, you can go in your backyard, your front yard, get out of your car, and you listen very closely. It might be a whistle in the air to some people. Others that have a real good, keen sense of hearing may hear the sound of everybody around them actively uncorking their head from their ass. It is the most melodic tune. And I know that sounds very cynical and very jaded and very direct as far as, an opinion. But it's true as far as, what's currently happening. There are a lot of people that are starting to figure out that there are things that are very important in their lives that they're letting pass by, or are starting to figure out that these things that they have held on to can actually find some kind of peace, or they're trying to get to a space that they know they can be. It's a good thing. It's a wonderful thing. You should always try to be that person that you wish others were. And right now, where the focus is inward heavy, people are actually doing it. So what does that mean for the forecast? Well, looking at it proper, so we have the good, or the metaphysical benefits. Right now, everything is going to be very expressive, we'll say. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, you're going to have one of two people. You're either going to have the person that has to micromanage everything, have a lot of control in their life and over their gift and things like that. They're probably going to have an interesting go, because it's going to feel like nothing's moving, nothing's progressing, everything's plateaued. We're basically running straight on a flat surface. We're not climbing, we're not going anywhere. The reason for this is you're getting what it is that you ask for. Right now, we're in an interesting state, and I'll get into that here in just a minute. But we're in an interesting state, and because of that, trying to control shit that shouldn't be controlled is gonna wind up in stagnation, not actual control. But the good side is those that are allowing things to work the way that they should right now, and are attempting to better themselves through things that they typically wouldn't do or say or look at. They're trying to expand horizons and, learn and be something better. For those of you that are doing that, your gifts are going to react in very interesting and weird ways. And what I mean by that is the way that you would typically do things is going to be amplified. So what does that mean? That means that you're not going to have to try nearly as hard to get done what it is that you would typically do, and you're not going to have to use near as much energy, emotional capacity, mental capacity, even physical capacity for some people's gifts that you wouldn't typically have to use. Things are going to come easier. As soon as you understand that the best form of control is realizing that you don't have any, things are going to be awesome. I've already seen evidence of this. There's a couple people that, I've worked with over this past weekend, and all of them, well, fuck, it couldn't be that easy, but I guess it is. Yeah. Well, shit, I didn't know I could do that. Yeah. I never felt a presence like this before. Yes, you have, just not like this. So it's going to be pretty awesome. It's going to be great. But again, notice how it's all based on choice. So we're looking at the bad now, or the metaphysical issues. So, as I said in the first bit, so at the good, this is all choice based. I'm not going to spend a lot of time here in this particular segment because I already discussed it. You get to choose right now how it is your shit actually works. If you find everything problematic and you hunker down in this thing of, well, I can't do what this other person can, or I can't be what this other person is, or whatever, insert bullshit, intrusive thought here, when you give in to that right now, that's what you're going to wind up with. You're going to sit, you're going to spin, and you're going to stagnate. Does this mean that your gifts are not going to work? No. They're going to work. They're going to do as they should. But you're not going to see the results that other people are. Your gifts are just going to function as they would, maybe with a little bit more of a strain or a push. But yeah, it's pretty much that. That's all you're going to have as far as something that's a downward spiral, as far as your gift. Now, looking at the ugly or the mundane effects. We talked a lot about this at the beginning of the forecast video, so I'm not going to go heavy into it. But right now, you're going to see that there's a desire in a lot of people to make things better for themselves. And it's not selfish to do that, as long as you're not stepping on others to do so. People are going to want to better themselves. You're going to see a lot of people going back to school. You're going to see a lot of people trying to learn something new, or, develop a new art form, like, playing an instrument or working with some kind of craft, or, paint or whatever. You're going to see people wanting to do these things as a better outlet for their mental space. People are going to want to talk more. Not necessarily about what's in here. Some people might, but I'm not going to throw that out there. But people are going to want to talk about their headspace more. They're going to talk about where they're at. People are really going to want to make sense to other people, because they're finally starting to understand that they make sense to themselves. You're going to see a lot of an uptick of what would be considered weird behavior, but honestly is an honest effort. People change through adaptation. Who we are is who we are, and what we are is what we are. But what I mean by change when I say change is adaptation. You adapt to your surroundings, your understandings, your perceptions, other people's input. You adapt to society and what it is that you need to do in order to provide something for or survive in society. It's an adaptation. people are going to start to understand that everybody is adapting to the way the world is changing. Not specifically to each other, not specifically because of insert reason, but because the world itself is changing. Everyone's circumstances are changing. And as long as people are willing to get that and work with that, it's going to provide some really cool shit for some of you. Things that you didn't have the capacity to figure out are going to get figured out. Things that you never thought you'd be able to do, you're going to be able to do. You just got to get out of the fucking way. Now, on the flip of that, you're going to have people that essentially stub their toe and want to burn their house down because it hurt them. So what do I mean by that analogy? What I mean is that when you stub your toe, it's nothing that you're intending to do. God forbid if you're the kind of person that kicks a bedpost on purpose with, bare toes. You deserve what you get. But most people don't intend to kick furniture, don't intend to, turn a corner too soon and, bust their toe. It's not intentional. It didn't happen because of some grand design or, because God said stub your fucking toe or because, someone or something moved that furniture in front of you at the right time just for that to happen. It was something that just happened. It was a fucking accident. It was a happenstance. Does that require you burning your house down with everything in it because you don't want to stub your toe again? Fucking no. That's pretty nuts, isn't it? Well, a lot of people are going to find problematic situations in their life and focus on them to the point to where they basically let the rest of the world burn around them. Hyperfixating on one issue that no one could control or was an absolute accident that no one could have foresaw. Or even if it was something that was apologized for and properly, by the way, because just saying you're sorry is bullshit. But properly apologizing and making amends for, allowing that to happen as far as letting the world burn around you is a rough go. These are the kind of people that have that particular issue and let that particular thing happen and then start to really externalize. Well, why aren't you helping me put this fire out that I started? We didn't know you did. And that's where you get into those kinds of statements that make me want to slap the taste out of some people's mouth, like, why'd you let me do that? You know better. Why didn't you say something to me? Be careful of those people. If you have those kind of people in your life, you probably need to wonder why. And if they are not willing to do the work for themselves, then stepping in is just enabling. It's just causing them to look at you as a pivot point. That's not safe for you. And in all honesty, it's not safe for them either. Be careful of taking responsibility for other people's actions and what it is that they tell others. Also, be really, really careful about doing that yourself. Being that particular person that asks to be enabled instead of helped. Integrity is a thing, and so is humility. Keep them steady right now, and you're going to be fine. Vibe life, because it's willing to work with you at the moment. Now, as far as state, and I waited until now because usually I go over the elemental affinities. I will say the words in a minute. Usually I go over elemental affinity at this point in the forecast. Right now, there is none. Right now, there is none. We are in a very interesting state. These are incredibly rare. They don't happen very often. Usually we equate it to a mythical creature or beast. You know, there's a dragon state, there's a fae state. This one, and it will not be here but a few days to a handful, is what my particular teaching calls a true state, or law. A state of natural flow and natural law. It is a law-driven state. Not chaos, not balance, not order. Those don't matter right now. That's why right now is very interesting and very cool. Because what you say and do for yourself and others right now is what's going to be until the next law state. Think about that. If these fucking states in the flow are that rare, you should probably take advantage and use them for the right reason. Otherwise, you may kick up a lot of shit that you wind up dealing with for however many fucking years it's going to be until we see another one of these. Do the right thing. Do better. Choose better. It takes a lot less energy to be awesome than it does to be an ass. That does it for the forecast, and hopefully you guys are having an awesome holiday weekend. If not, it will be a better weekend, and we will see you soon at the local market and for classes. But until then, and as always, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and remember that those that have the power to change themselves have the power to change the world around themselves. Love y'all.
If you like this video, make sure you check out the Spirit Mechanics YouTube channel, where we have dozens of videos going into various spiritual topics, some music, and we take you on our adventures while we ghost hunt. Don't forget to give us a like and subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with every new episode.